Welcome, everyone, to the Monthly Movie Dispatch, the movie review show from friends you can trust. Every week, we review a new film, talk about some film news, and recommend what to watch. We've been talking, critiquing, and gushing over movies since we were in high school, and we aim to bring you honest conversation on relevant cinema. My name is Sean Bowlby. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, and with me is my brother, Brandon Bowlby, in New York.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Great.
Awesome. Today we are going to be reviewing the new Broadway musical adaptation from Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights. And that should be fun. But first, I think we're going to talk about Lin-Manuel Miranda's movies so far. This is his, I guess, third movie that he's been a part of. If you consider Moana, which he did the music for, a Lin-Manuel Miranda's movie, and if you consider the new Hamilton kind of live, what would you call that? The live stage performance, not a movie?
Not in my books.
Brandon says not a movie.
Technically, to me, more of a documentary than anything.
Kinda. I don't know if I would call it a documentary.
In real life.
Yeah.
Otherwise, sometimes be a documentary.
That's true. Anyways, a recorded live performance which is on Disney Plus, which kind of made a pretty big splash last year, and but I think we can kind of talk about it. This is, I guess, Lin-Manuel Miranda's his first real venture into movies. I guess it's, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Considering Blind Spotting in the same vein as
I totally forgot about that. He did the what did he do for that? He just did the lyrics
and some songs.
Yes,
but there wasn't really songs. So maybe that's why he's not as credited, because he just contributed some words.
Yeah, right. Which is interesting, because I actually did consider that movie in our review. I kind of mentioned that I could almost consider it a musical. And in how it's structured and how the characters kind of through, I don't know, I guess beat poetry or kind of hip hop, they express their inner feelings in a very similar way to how musicals do it. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Lin-Manuel Miranda's? You saw Hamilton live on Broadway. Is that correct?
I did. Not with him. I saw it maybe 3 years later or something. It was a different cast for the most part. Maybe a few characters still the same, but he wasn't in there. I mean, that's like a pretty prestigious now film career coming off of Broadway too. He's really just picking things here and there, with Moana obviously being one of the best Disney animated musicals as of lately. We're all super impressed by that. And Blind Spotting made all of our top 10s. It's kind of cool what he's contributing to.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, in the Heights, these two new adaptations, Hamilton and the Heights, got to be awesome to actually get a real life version of Hamilton too. I think that could translate incredibly, probably even better than In the Heights, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, it would also be cool to get a Hamilton reimagining.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think he's dabbling in movies very lightly, because In the Heights what is he? He's just credited as a producer, really. I mean, obviously he wrote the play, or he didn't write the play. He didn't write the book, is what I guess is what you'd call it. But he did write the lyrics and the music for the play. And I assume there's a lot of collaboration there for musicals between the
those are the two big parts of musicals, is the book and the music, and they're very much go hand in hand.
But yeah, so he's credited as doing that, the lyrics and the music, but he didn't direct, and he didn't write the screenplay, and he didn't write the book. So I do kind of wonder really how much he had his hands on this movie. Obviously he played a role in the movie, literally. He was a character in the movie. But yeah,
maybe I wouldn't be surprised if that was added. Kind of seemed a little out of place. It was a little. There's a little fluff for the neighborhood, but I would be surprised if that actually was on Broadway.
I believe I saw he did have a role in the original Broadway, in the original play. So maybe he was playing the same role, or maybe he had a more of a lead role.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little ignorant. Sure. I would have to research.
But yeah, what do you think makes a Lin-Manuel Miranda's movie, or song or musical?
He's got, you hear it. He's got this he's got that like beat poetry, that like common beat poetry that you hear. It's not like so much rap as it is like people talking, with some rhythm. It's hard to describe, but you do hear it in some pop rap songs, and obviously it goes really well in movies like Blind Spotting. But he just has this kind of really common way about his writing, which it's people talking about what's happening, what they're doing, like what's right in front of them that they're looking at. And they just keep talking, saying the lines over and over again in a more heightened way. It's hard to describe, but he has a very specific style that is in all of his music.
Definitely. And I think he is really good at finding clever ways to say things, I guess.
Say ordinary things.
Yeah, say ordinary things, or just like kind of inner monologue of characters. He's really clever with his lyrics, and I think really creative. Not that I have a really broad knowledge of Broadway musicals, but it is something new and interesting.
He writes absolute musicals through and through, like unapologetically complete musicals. Hamilton and In the Heights are like non-stop music. There's very little dialogue, and even when there is dialogue, they're still half singing it and half rhyming with each other. Which is just like very Broadway. It's like the kind of, I guess, maybe more the old school way of doing it. It's not like you do a pop song, then you give them a bunch of story, then you do a pop song, give them a bunch of story. It's like all music all the time.
And it really is like, we'll talk more in depth about this in the review, because he does it a lot in this movie. It's a lot more snippets. I feel like it's not. I feel like a lot of other plays, the way that the story and the music kind of come together, it's like story, then song about what is happening or what has happened. But I think what you were saying, it's a musical through and through, where it is really like abstract, and he is using the music. I don't know, I guess he'll like totally remove a character from reality for a scene while they sing the song, or and it'll, I think at least I've only seen a few, but like I'm thinking like Moulin Rouge or Les Miserables or Chicago. I guess Chicago has some of that too, but I guess Chicago is quite an abstract movie, and I would probably consider Chicago to be closest to what Lin-Manuel Miranda's does than any other musical I've seen. But yeah, it's
even stitching like scenes together with music and lyrics and stuff like that. It doesn't just go into common dialogue for very long. It's really So if you don't like musicals, this is not for you, because it's the musical of musicals.
Yeah. Although I would say, if you don't like musicals, maybe give musicals a shot, more of a shot. They can be a ton of fun. Music can be a ton of fun, and I really, in the last, I don't know, several years, I've really been sold on musicals as an art form, as a art form that is kind of totally abstracted from a concrete narrative or a more typical way of telling a story. So
Agreed. And we watched a few plays this last year during quarantine, plays to
Mhm.
movies, and we've talked a lot about how you
Mhm.
have to like get over the hump of what that means,
Mhm.
like watching unnatural monologues, but appreciating it in and of itself as its own form of art.
Mhm.
Even if it's a little clunky and unnatural at times. But that's what you're doing. You're performing. You're putting on a show. It's supposed to be grand and spectacular, even if it's
Grandiose.
just monologues.
Yeah.
And it's the same in musicals too. It's its own thing that can be appreciated outside of normal storytelling.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, it's fun to get into.
For sure.
All
Well,
right.
maybe yeah, what do you say we jump into our In the Heights review?
Let's do it. And what is In the Heights, Sean?
Yeah, In the Heights. This is a movie that is directed by John M. Chu. I believe it's his follow-up to Crazy Rich Asians. Unless he did something else and I'm mistaken, but yeah, I believe his last movie was Crazy
Is
Rich.
that a weird career? Crazy Rich
Yeah.
Asians?
Yeah. So that is confirmed. That was his last movie. Oh no!
He's
Yeah,
done
yes.
some very bizarre stuff before that.
Yeah, G.I.
That isn't necessarily
Joe.
good.
Some documentaries he did, like Justin Bieber, Never Stop, Never Stopping, or Never Say Never. And yeah, Step Up. So he does have some musicals in his, or I guess that's a dance movie, kind of a musical, I guess. But yeah.
Not necessarily a director that's on anyone's radar.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's on people's radar just as a director, but not necessarily as someone you would expect to really sell this kind of movie.
Yeah.
I would say. Again, it was Lin-Manuel Miranda is credited as a musical stage play and concept, and the screenplay is from the person who wrote the book, which is going to be hard to pronounce the name, Chiara Alegria Hudez. She wrote the book, and she also wrote the screenplay, which is kind of cool. And yeah, so the plot summary is this is the Wikipedia plot summary, because I've been very let down by IMDb's plot summaries recently.
We'll see.
But so this is Wikipedia's. The story of a corner in Washington Heights neighborhood of Upper Manhattan in New York, where each member of the community pursues their dream of a better life. It's starring Anthony Ramos, Corey Hawkins, Leslie Grace, Melissa Barrera, as well as a bunch of other fun actors that are kind of probably mostly not really well known.
Great unassuming cast.
Yeah, definitely.
I was pretty into everybody here. Incredible voices, good solid performances, believable. They didn't sacrifice acting for vocals or vocals for acting. And that's probably what you get when you go with more of a blank slate of stars. You don't have to worry as much about, having a Russell Crowe
definitely
drag down your singing.
The only person I recognized in the movie is Stephanie Betzry.
What's she from?
She's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She's one of the cops from very different role. She's a very stoic cop in Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
for sure.
And she's very, I guess, boisterous in this movie, which is kind of fun to see. But so this movie is on HBO Max. Did you watch it in theaters or HBO Max, Brian?
I went to AMC's IMAX.
Nice. Oh yeah,
earlier today.
Awesome.
It was great.
Yeah, I saw it in Dolby Atmos, which was pretty cool as well. But yeah, it's also available on HBO Max if you don't have the time to get out. But yeah, like I'll just jump into my review. So yeah, this is Lin-Manuel Miranda's first big movie musical. I guess that he is really plays a big role in the whole product. So that's it was definitely been on my radar. It was supposed to come out last year, but it was pushed to this year, and I was anticipating it quite a bit, and I was really excited to see that they decided to really give it a big push, because it felt like they were anticipating it doing well, and that it was going to be good. You know, it was kind of at a level of quality where they wanted to wait until the movie could make some money, which we can talk about how much money it made later. But I mean,
that's it's an interesting story. Like, he did Hamilton, one of the biggest musicals of all time. And just off of that credibility, the creator of a Broadway musical, he was able to sell and get a major budget for the rights of his previous work that nobody knew about.
Yeah.
Like, just seems
definitely.
like kind of crazy, because people don't really care about Broadway producers that have a good catalog. Like, it's just so specific. But for some reason, Lin-Manuel Miranda has such a big name, he can draw that.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's almost, you could almost say he's a household name at this point.
So yeah, it's like somehow.
Yeah, and I guess I was just reading up on him earlier today. I guess In the Heights, he originally wrote it in college, when he was in college, performed it in college, and then when he graduated, he did it pretty off Broadway in Connecticut, and then it got a lot of traction. And I believe it did win a couple Tonys, so it did have some recognition. But yeah, so it's a kind of an interesting thing where a creator is going back to kind of their original work before they got famous, and revisiting it as a film. But yeah, I think there's a lot to really like about this movie. I think this movie really shines brightly in some of its moments, and the big song and dance numbers is what really makes this movie interesting and fun. There's a ton of energy. There's just it's very vibrant. There's a lot of color. The music and the
very vibrant.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
The movement, the way that they move the camera and they block the actors, and the performances, the choreography is really impressive and a ton of fun. It's really impressive, and I think it really does sell that performance aspect of the Broadway musical. I think it does a great job of capturing it, making it bigger for the big screen, and doing kind of more interesting things than you might normally expect.
It's translated well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It uses the medium of film to heighten the musical scenes.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who isn't having a good time watching this movie. I think a lot of the characters are really effective, or kind of all the characters are really effective, and I think they did a really good job of portraying each character as someone who's unique. Each character had purpose to the movie and to the themes. They each had their own kind of issues that they were dealing with that kind of separated them, but also, the community that they were all a part of was bringing the characters together. So, I thought that was kind of a unique thing where they were all dealing with their own things and their own problems, but the movie did a good job of bringing it and solidifying it as one kind of solid idea. And there were a lot of characters in this movie too. Like,
oh yeah,
each one very distinguishable in their own way, and each one making a big impact on the movie, even in the smallest of roles. They're all very memorable. I also thought, like, the themes were really pointed and effective. I liked a lot of the ideas that this movie was kind of playing with. Maybe not the most in-depth portrayal of those themes, but I really did think it was quite effective at what it was going for.
I think, and in that regard, I think like one of the big, and it's like not really a problem, but one of the things that like was meh for me on the movie was the easiness of everything. Like the movie wears its heart on its sleeve with every character, and every character is kind of like the easiest possible representation of that character you could get. Like you've seen a lot of the archetypes before, and you've seen a lot of the troubles before, and it's very blunt with kind of each character arc that it's going for. The girl off at college, the guy dreaming of getting out of his city or going to a different town. The girl who wants to live downtown in the West Village. Like all of it is very blunt, in your face, and it's kind of like an easy ride.
I feel like it's kind of a melodrama. In my opinion, not necessarily in a bad way, but it's very obvious. It's dealing with its themes in obvious ways, which is very much a melodrama, and probably musicals. I think musicals do that really well.
And it doesn't necessarily conclude them in unobvious ways either. Like it wraps up in a lot of very obvious fashion as well. So in that regard, it is a very digestible film. It's never very difficult or challenging to the viewer at all, especially in the character developments. And that's kind of what my biggest shrug was of the movie. I wish it had gone like a little deeper and got a little rougher around the edges at times, with some of this melodrama presented to us.
Really show the grit of Manhattan.
It doesn't have to be grit, but it could have been surprising at times. And so, but it just wasn't that kind of movie. It was more of a fun, enjoyable, easy pop listen, and that's definitely what you get from it.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to go back to the way they translated this to film, because it's like that's really its strong suit. To me, like the story was fine, been there, done that, a lot of it, but the way the director honestly like brought these musical scenes to life, I thought was like so exciting at times. Like he had great editing, cuts, unique ideas for different songs, settings, like places for them to like take place in. For some reason, like a big one that comes to mind is the barbershop scene. The song doesn't really affect too much in the story.
The salon.
It's kind of maybe a side thing. But the salon scene with their like clapping and they're tapping their nails and the heads are moving and everyone's got this like attitude.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone has a look like that. Everyone has that big
like moving
look.
And like the salon desks are like shifting so people can listen to the gossip, and like there's just like a lot of detail that went into creating that scene, and many others like it that was really unique for a musical.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really good example of it doing the Broadway musical but making it like bigger and you have a lot more, I guess, depth because you're dealing with bigger sets rather than a confined stage. But it's I feel like a lot of those things where everyone's kind of exaggerating. I'm don't know what I'm doing with my movement right now, but
it's choreography. But with editing and with different shots, like you could tell maybe in the actual musical, girls were tapping their nails on the salon tables to go around with the rhythm, but things weren't cutting and shifting and moving and like following the background characters like that, like it did in the film. And they definitely like choreographed a much more heightened experience, and it was really cool. The pool scene did a lot of that. That was
sure.
great.
That's the one that really comes to mind. That was the way that they went from character to character, because everyone was in that scene, and they went from all character to character, and
money, the lotto ticket, people realizing what they didn't get or what they wanted from the money, and
in and out of the water. And yeah, it was just it's really fun scene. It was one of the ones that like just kind of gave me chills. Like this is really good and really cool, visually. So yeah, all that was just, this movie really shined in that respect. And like the music too is incredible. It's so much fun. I know almost nothing about that kind of music. I don't even know what genre is I mean, I assume salsa,
Latin
beats and Latin kind of music,
or some reggaeton.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we heard a lot of it in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, definitely.
It's unique, right? Like you don't see that many musicals that have that kind of like background instrumentation and stuff, and and also Lin-Manuel Miranda has this unique hip hop musical combination. People go into these beautiful ballads and then seamlessly come out of them into like this quick hip hop, that drives the like actual what's going on in the scene, but like you can barely keep up with it because they're like rapping so fast. And that's very him, and it's throughout this movie constantly, with their beautiful voices and then the great hip hop.
Yeah. And I also thought there were some quite beautiful moments in this movie as well. I think you would probably know which one I'm talking about. The one where it gets quiet and, walking through the train station. That was a really beautiful song and a beautiful moment. We'll talk more
abstract
about it. Yeah, very abstract.
Kind of about her life. Everything she's come to, and
there's a lot. I mean, in a lot of ways, very much like a melodrama. It had some very effective, over the top, emotional scenes, and it really plays up the emotions, but I think in a way that works quite well. I think I definitely had some nits to pick as well. I think
we were just praising the music a lot, and there was a lot to like about the music and the way they showed the music. But I think this much less so than Hamilton. I think you could tell he hasn't fully found his creativity in every song. Necessarily, while Hamilton is like nonstop. I felt like there was a lot of moments, not a lot, but many parts of this movie where even the music kind of felt samey or easy.
There were a few
fireworks. I'm like, yes, there's fireworks. Okay, why are you saying this for the 200th time? You can move on. And there was a lot of that in the movie. So I think I could tell it's his first venture into this, and he would only grow stronger for Hamilton.
I agree. I think there's like the really good ones were the big ones where a lot of people, big shots, big moments. But then there were also a lot of smaller songs, I guess, that didn't really hit as well.
It's like a good album. Like you gotta inject creativity even in the like in between tracks. And if they don't have something special to them, they shouldn't be there. Or you just end up skipping them. And there was a handful of tracks that were very skippable. I think, at least. It's my first time hearing it, so maybe not, but that was my first impression.
I would agree. And I wonder how much of this did they change anything from the original play? Because it really does seem like Lin-Manuel Miranda kind of grew as a writer in Hamilton. So I wonder if he kind of revisited some of it and rewrote some songs or changed some stuff or cut some stuff. But I agree. Some of it does kind of show a less refined writer or musician
Mhm.
or artist. I also think
It's weird
like
saying that less refined because it's like also still pretty, obviously
that's
impressive.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought like the main character wasn't super strong. Um, I wasn't.
In what way?
You know, his whole arc. I feel like I
Yeah,
cared a
I'll
whole
agree with
lot
that.
more
You know,
about everyone else's arc in the movie than I did about his arc, and you know, I just yeah, I think that's the thing. I cared a lot more about pretty much all the other characters and what
yeah.
they were going
Even
through
his
rather than
cousin
him.
was like, "You were 8 years old. Like what?
Yeah.
Like why do you care about this?" And
Well, I
I'm
mean,
like, "Yeah,
yeah,
why do you care about this?"
he just wants to
Um,
go back and live in the Caribbean. All right, cool. In Dominican
yeah,
Republic.
like yeah,
Yeah.
it's
um,
like a $200 plane ticket.
yeah.
I'm sure you could. Yeah, you're at a bodega, but it's a one-way ticket to the Caribbean.
Uh-huh.
Like you'll be okay.
Yeah.
I
And yeah. So I guess
get what you mean.
yeah, definitely.
And
And
the girl too, like going off to college. I mean, it's to me it was kind of all the same. Like the girl's going off to college and like.
but
It's
I
like I
liked
just want to
her
stay
and
in
her
Washington
dad's
Heights.
I liked her and her dad's dynamic. I also I guess yeah, I don't know. I liked
Think of
the
the artist
idea
girl.
that there was a lot of pressure on her from her community, her family, especially from her dad. There was a lot. I think there was just a lot of stuff to like, a lot more to like about other characters' stories. Whereas he was just kind of just wanted to go to Dominican Republic and
What
open a
about the
bar.
artist girl though? Actually, she was actually my least favorite arc. Um,
I don't know.
Mostly because she just wanted to live like 15 minutes away, and like for
Well,
some reason
not
that
just
was
that.
like a
I think
really
it
big
was
deal.
more. I cared more about her struggle because she was going for something that I guess she is passionate about. She has been seemingly been working towards for a long time. You know, she wants to be a fashion designer, and specifically, it's not just that she wants to move downtown or to Lower Manhattan. She wants to open up a store to make and sell her own fashion
Yeah.
attire. And I guess I enjoyed not enjoyed, but I was moved by her struggle and the the kind of resistance that she received, and I thought it was played into the themes really well of being stuck in this little neighborhood, impoverished neighborhood, without a clear way to get out and to make your mark on the world.
Mhm.
And I think that was the kind of theme of the whole movie.
For sure. Yeah. The
And
barbershop ladies.
yeah,
I actually
definitely.
really loved them.
Hmm.
Not just because of the great song, but like I want to see a whole movie of just them running that barbershop
Hmm.
in the Bronx or something.
Yeah. Um, and then yeah, even the dad having his own character arc, I liked all that, and him dealing with money and his own business that he built from the ground up. Um, and even the little boy the young kid who I'm not gonna. We can get into more details and spoilers, but
Let's jump into a few
yeah,
spoilers. I think we've gone over
why don't
initial
we?
impressions.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some spoilers, a bunch of spoilers now. So if you haven't seen it, it's on HBO Max, or go see it in theaters and come back and finish the review with us. So yeah, what was effective for you? What characters were effective for
So
you?
I had mixed feelings about the ending. So it kind of got to me, but I also was like kind of frustrated about it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like I got like chills and stuff, and I thought it was a cool way they revealed it. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like then at the same time I was just like And honestly, I walked out of the movie. I had all this in my head, and then Jeff Kanata brings it up on the Slash Film Cast because it just got posted. So don't get mad at me if you ever listen to that, and it sounds like I'm copying him because I didn't. I was going to say this regardless. I hated that he was just like he was on the beach, and the twist was that they just lied to us about him just being on the beach, and he just wasn't there. And the whole movie, we think he's supposed to be in Dominican Republic because they show him in Dominican Republic, and he's just not, I guess. And I was like, all right, can you do that in films? Just lead people astray just by showing 100% fabricated things that didn't happen.
So like that's definitely something that I'm sure worked really well on stage, because I think there's probably a lot of ways you could easily fake it, right? You have it, you don't even have to like completely change location. You probably have all the decorations up and everything. In maybe you
have a painted background.
Yeah,
it's like painted, but it looks like a set design, but it's actually the guy's painting.
Yeah, something like that. I'm sure that is more effective in the abstract live show. But it's also, how do you sell it? How do you make it work on film, where you run into troubles?
Why not just have him in his cool like cabana that we just think is in Dominican Republic, but we pull out and it's just in Washington Heights. Like they didn't have to just lie to us the whole time.
Yeah,
it's not that big of a deal, so I don't want to belabor it if you're not on board with this. But
I agree. So I kind of saw this ending as a magic trick, that a really obvious magic trick that ends up fooling you anyways, and I think like I was totally expecting something, and when it was happening, I knew it was over the top and kind of silly, and it was just a trick that they played on us and everything. But I have to admit, in that scene, in the moment, it was emotionally effective.
Exactly. Yeah, it gave me, like I said at the start of this, it gave me chills too. Like,
it's like, God damn it. And really it wasn't what happened. I think it was the reveal, the music, the everything building up, and for, I'm sure, many other reasons, perhaps more subtle, it actually was emotionally effective for me. And as I was being emotionally affected by it, I was also rolling my eyes a bit. But yeah, I can't deny that it worked.
100% on board with you there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And also, like, I think it's also that the themes worked really well. As kind of obvious and simple as they were, I do think they all came together in a really coherent, effective way. All the different characters and what is it? This Swanito? Oh God, is that what it was?
The Swanito?
El Swanito, the little dream,
Okay.
And I think that's the idea of kind of an impoverished, put down group of people in a little unknown neighborhood. They just kind of built their own, over several generations, have built their own little community for themselves. And it's being slowly, kind of piece by piece, being pulled away by a variety of factors. The new generation going off and doing bigger and better things, perhaps, or
not needing it anymore.
Not needing it anymore, or rent going up, or they need to pay for their child's college tuition, all these different factors. But still they have that, because they don't often have an easy path ahead to better themselves. They're kind of forced to have this little dream, and I think another thing that I really liked is the fact that it came down to a lottery ticket, which is interesting just because I would imagine for a lot of people something like a lottery ticket is really power. The idea of winning the lottery can be really powerful when you can't see any other means to get out or to better yourself. And so, yeah, anyways, I really thought all those themes were
I'm curious if
brought together
you say it came
effectively.
down to a lottery ticket. I thought he gave the lottery ticket to the kid's green card investigation, lawyerism stuff.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Not for the show.
I mean, it didn't all come down to a lottery ticket. You know, it's not like the plot pivoted around it, but I think thematically it kind of came to that lottery ticket that he gave to the kid for him to be able to live in the country and to become a citizen and to have the rights that are afforded to the rest of us, and for him to be able to go off.
Great moment.
Yeah,
that was a good kind of twist. Was the finding the lottery ticket and that his pseudo mom, you know, had it the entire time.
Yeah,
that was really cool. Like, yeah, that was a really cool full circle moment when that comes up.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what do you have any more thoughts on her scene, the abuela, the grandmother?
It's one of the most. Yeah, going back, it's one of the most abstract scenes. It's kind of beautiful, like the way it goes through her whole life and what her experience was, and you know, and just, you know, coming here, working on the Upper East Side, wearing gloves so they can't see the calluses or the cracked like sores on their hands, and it's the little things that you have to hold on to keep your dignity. Like, there was a lot to the grandma, and she was a great character. And her laying in bed, and the last thing she sees is maybe her heart is giving out, is you know, her family, in her pseudo family in the living room enjoying themselves. It was really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Really
yeah, and like even like you know, that generational thing, she came over and put in all this work, and it was scary, and it, you know, that immigrant story, and she did all this, and she created a community for the next generation to grow up in, and kind of what the daughter who went off to Stanford was saying, how to her father, where you had a community and now that community is kind of being taken away, or it's kind of dispersing in a lot of ways, and that community was built by her generation for the next generation. And yeah, and that, I think that moment it kind of reflects that, and is really powerful for her to see in her last moments, I guess, that community really being held together in that moment.
It's a good scene. It kind of comes out of left field, but then when you realize what they're doing with it, it's really good.
Definitely. Yeah, I think there's lots of other really great scenes we could talk about. I really liked the scene of up on the side of the building, that dance number where and there was some pretty great cinematic trickery. How I assume that was actually a set that
all CGI for sure.
There was definitely a lot of CGI.
It was just seeing all the lines and the seams and the green screen.
Oh yeah, there was definitely green screen, but there was in single shots.
Thing was green.
They were out there dancing.
Yeah,
and
it was cool. I saw too many scenes.
It was on a pivoting set. I think so.
Yeah, a pivoting green screen set.
Yeah. They obviously didn't take an entire brick building. I saw a lot of
keying holes in there. It's very distracting in my mind. One I liked better. It was a great idea and I appreciated it, but I just wish I wasn't seeing the like holes in that part. was the ribbon thing, like stuff coming
Yeah.
out of the. It was very cinematic, and I was
I
like, "Whoa, that's
Oh,
very
you liked
creative."
that
Like,
one?
oh, we're
So
opposite on
I'm
these.
actually opposite. I
Oh
mean, I
no,
thought it was a great idea, but I was looking at it and I was like, oh, it would have been really cool if they actually used
those that's so
real
weird because
silk
those were
blankets.
obviously CGI too.
Uh-huh.
Like, but for some reason that didn't
Yeah.
bother me, but the building did. That's
Yeah.
really weird.
Uh-huh. I mean, I liked that scene as well, but it just I was more that bothered me more than the. I totally forgot until just now that the scene where it's all the animated, like they're I don't know.
Hmm. That was kind of
Yeah,
cool.
that was really
Yeah,
cool.
I
I
like
thought
that.
that worked super well.
Yeah, it wasn't the normal sketches you see on like, mid 2000s hipster movies. It was like
Uh,
done in a more interesting way.
yeah, and it
I liked it a
worked.
lot.
The physicality of it worked just
Hmm.
really seamlessly. I was following it really well. It just worked for me. I
Yeah.
thought it was really
Lots of
really clever.
CGI and in the heights for some
Uh-huh.
reason,
Yeah.
unexpectedly.
Yeah. Thoughts on box office? What
How
were
did it
you?
do? I know nothing.
It didn't. I don't know if they're considering it a bomb. It didn't do as well as they were hoping. It made 11 million opening
Mm.
weekend. Do you have any thoughts?
I
I
don't know.
was
Like
kind
I
of
said, this
expecting
is
it to do well.
it's a no-name musical.
Hmm.
Nobody knows about this. Like, not even people in New York know what In the Heights is
Hmm.
because it came out so long before Hamilton.
Yeah.
Uh, and like that's the only connection. So like I don't know who relies on a writer of a musical to pull a draw in a film crowd. Like I said earlier on, it's amazing they gave this such a big budget to begin with, but this is a pretty obscure, so
Hmm.
I'm not surprised,
You
honestly.
think so? Um, yeah, I guess there's no big star power aside from Lin-Manuel
Yeah.
Miranda's. But I'm thinking of what's it called? The circus movie musical that came out of nowhere and did surprisingly well. The
Oh yeah,
Greatest
The Greatest
Showman.
Showman.
I was
Right.
I was kind of I mean, and not that movie did particularly well its opening weekend. It just was a
Yeah.
huge sleeper hit. So I do wonder maybe this one is gonna continue to get word of mouth. I mean, I have no
Be a
idea.
sleeper hit. It doesn't have
And
the
it
like
might
pop
be a sleeper hit.
aesthetic as The Greatest Showman did.
Yeah.
No, Greatest
There,
Showman was like a pop anthem
yeah,
musical, and this isn't.
definitely.
But I
Um,
hope it does well.
yeah, definitely. Maybe international markets it'll kind of pick up as well. That might be
And maybe
nice.
HBO Max paid enough to
Yeah.
make up for the loss in revenue.
Yeah, maybe the loss in
along with
revenue.
box office.
Maybe that's going towards HBO because I don't know if they are releasing their numbers as much as other
Yeah, probably not.
companies. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Thoughts, questions,
I
concerns?
think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
What are we doing next week? What's going on?
Yeah. So next week we are going to be doing the movie Luca, the new Pixar movie. Luca looks interesting. Looks kind of fun. It takes place in the Italian Riviera, which we went and visited
Been there.
back in the day. So that's kind of cool. It's watching the trailer. It's bringing me back to the Cinque Terre.
I'm excited for it. I'm
yeah,
curious if this is going to
definitely.
be
And
more of an onward or more of a soul.
Yeah,
But,
definitely.
We'll see.
That's you and Derek. So,
Mhm.
yeah, join us next week for that. And yeah, we will see you guys next time. All right.
Later.
Bye.